conversations are before I press record. It's
I know.
honestly.
It's right. But same.
So yeah, it was just a case of I just want to show people that it doesn't need to hold you back. And I know in your case, you were diagnosed at what, 60?
Yeah. My daughter's got it really severely.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she had, and I'm bipolar type 2, and there's a massive comorbidity.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it was really from my daughter, Chris, because she, because we were in the fortunate enough position to be able to do something about it. And it
Mm-hmm.
breaks my heart there are so many people who cannot. But she was diving at school. It was terrible, hitting rock bottom. And we thought, what are we going to do? And so we went along and had her diagnosed, and she has a specific form of ADHD. And then we got medication, and she went to A stars overnight.
Wow. So to give you an idea, this is exactly what I'm waiting on. I was diagnosed in September,
Mm.
and um, my nurse said to me, "Right, diagnosed. We're going to put you on this medication, and come back tomorrow, and we'll give you your prescription." It's now May, and tomorrow's still not come.
Yeah,
The whole national shortage guidance came in the same day I was diagnosed.
completely.
So I don't know what that feels like yet, but I'm waiting to get there. Do you think the medication, obviously the medication's completely changed her life?
Changed her life.
Mhm.
She still takes. She doesn't like being on it, but she's got a theology degree from Bristol.
Wow.
We never thought that would be possible, and that'll be her. And and she's it's been transformative. I mean, I'll find out. I'll ask her. But she said all the time. She said, "You have so got," because it takes one to know one. And
Yeah.
she's just got into drama school, and she wrote a little monologue about her ADHD that she wrote, ADHD, she calls it. And she said, "You are so typical." She said, "Because I'm saying in I've drifted away from the film after 2 minutes and said, what's happening and stuff like that." And she
Hmm.
says, it's all everything. She said, but I've got hyper focus. I sit here in my studio, make my music, and I can 10 o'clock I start, and then the next time I look at the clock, it's 6 o'clock at night. I've got can get complete hyper focus. But so she said, you should go and get tested. I went, yeah, I'm fine, and everyone went, oh, because obviously Tina, my wife, she's read the books
Hmm.
for Kirsty, and she said, well, it makes a lot of sense for him as well. So I went and I paid for this is my guilt again, but I paid for a diagnosis, and the guy who's like one of the top guys, he said that, yup, you are ADHD, but I'm not going to medicate you or anything like that, because what I'm going to say is, I'm not going to medicate you. I'm going to congratulate you, because for what you do, it's perfect. You do it because you've got ADHD, and because you've got ADHD, you can do it. Because a lot of my work is very quick fire and fast thinking.
Mm.
Bang, 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 like a pinball machine, phone-ins and stuff like that. And a lot of it is hyper focus as well. So I'm lucky in that respect. And I know some people get annoyed by the whole superpower thing, and they do. But it's only a superpower if you're in a situation, a professional situation or a personal situation, that you can utilize it or let it work for you.
Hmm.
You know. So I'm
Yeah.
lucky. I'm lucky from that point. Are you? I mean, I don't know. Are
Yeah.
you?
I. It's funny. So I. It was last October, and this just to give you an idea. Like, so last October, there was a 2 week period where my mind was just it was on. I don't know what happened, but something had just switched on, and everything was working the the way it was supposed to. And I got so much done, and I wrote, and in those 2 weeks, I wrote my second best-selling book. Um, I just sat down and I was like, I need to
One
write
second.
something.
One second. Kirsty, come here a sec.
Hi.
I'm doing a podcast about ADHD with this guy Chris. About ADHD with
Wait,
an
if I get
author.
off the phone.
Yeah.
Wait, sorry, Will.
Tell him about you. Tell him about your ADHD. Tell him about your ADHD.
We putting these on.
Yeah, yeah. You have to. Yeah, I won't hear it. So just
Wait.
tell.
Where are you going?
I'm sitting here so you can sit down and just tell him about it. Tell him about
Oh, right.
the
All right.
diagnosis and the drugs because Chris
Yeah.
is waiting on the drugs. He can't get them, and also what is your ADHD all
Yeah,
about?
you've been thrown right into the
Come on,
deep
Chris.
end here, haven't you?
No, it's fine. He often does this. My ADHD. So where do I begin? So I was just like really struggled in school. I couldn't read. I'd read something and I don't know what I've just read because I would have been thinking about a million different things. I found school so like physically, mentally draining when it was like I was in year 8 and I just couldn't handle it. I would have no filter. So disorganized. I couldn't plan things. I was just one thought after the other. I was just impulsive and like said things. I have a massive thing was like saying things that like, why did I say that? Or stuff like that. And then I got really anxious from like when I was like 13. Well, probably all like for ages, but especially when I was 13, I started getting really bad anxiety and thinking everything bad was gonna happen, like loads of bad things were gonna happen to me. That like my family were gonna die, like my dogs were gonna die, like I couldn't go to the cinema, I couldn't get on the tube. I felt like everything. And so I started talking to someone and they were like, a bit later, they were like, I think you're ADHD because anxiety often like comes with ADHD because of yeah. And then yeah, I started taking pills when I was 16.
What pills were they?
They were Elvance. Which were I was in school at the time and I continued to take them when I went to uni. I had to do work and stuff. They were really strong. They completely changed me. I just felt a clear head. I can focus, I can do a task, I can write, I can, I can get my thoughts down on paper. It was like a suddenly something clicked. And then I was able to go to university and I still take them every day now. Well, Monday to Friday. I like the days off because they do change me. They make me more boring and a bit like Dull Neville's like, oh, Kirsty's on her pills.
I've got the hyper focus, but I can only hyper focus on something that I'm incredibly interested in. I can't.
Yeah, he's really he doesn't need a medication, which makes me a bit jealous, but hopefully I want to be an actress, which means I don't have to take medication because it's like the real me and that. But yeah. But he doesn't need it, which is unfair because I definitely do.
You spotted it in me though.
Yeah, oh, he definitely has it.
Oh yeah, we know our own. Like that's always we all like you can see it a mile off. We know our own from anywhere.
Yeah, and but he really hyper focuses. Like he can sit here and just do loads of like sit here and make music and play his music for like 8 hours without moving. And to a certain extent, I even struggle with that. Like I hyper focus into certain things, not like I can't sit down for 8. I'm more hyperactive than him, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, what
That's it, really.
Is that all right?
Brilliant.
Thank
Sorry,
you.
I've just been.
No. Thank you. How old are you now?
Well,
I'm 22.
22. Okay, so that's 6 years. Yeah, I'm still waiting on my meds. The shortage came in place literally the day I was diagnosed.
Really?
Yeah, so and I was told I was going on the meds, and then the next day they couldn't prescribe it. So
That's awful.
yeah, so I'm still waiting, and I'm waiting on that day that I try them, and this clear
Yeah.
whatever. I'm just well, it'll happen. It'll
It'll
happen one day.
happen. And I'm obviously so grateful. Like I hear like these kind of things all the time, and it's like I don't know what I'd do. But also to make you feel a little bit better, they do have negative sides to it, and sometimes I wish I never tipped them. Like they don't, they may clear your mind for a bit, but they also are. I feel a bit trapped in taking them now. Like
Got
when
you.
and they can have bad side effects, and they can make you different. Like that, it's not all sunshines and rainbows with them. If that, like, if but yeah, obviously everyone they do help a lot. But
Yeah, no, I get you, and it's one of those things, isn't it? Because I had like I was diagnosed with depression at like 15, and
mm,
I don't even think I was depressed at 15. I think it was all ADHD related, and now at
yeah,
40, 25 years on antidepressants, and at 40 I find out I may not have even needed them.
yeah.
Yeah.
That happens a lot. It's a they do misdiagnose it. Like a lot of teenage girls as well.
Hmm.
Who would get diagnosed with depression later find out that it's actually ADHD.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what's going on. Oh, I better get in here.
All right.
Thank
Lovely
you.
to meet you.
Yeah, you
Bye.
too. Thank you.
There you go. A world exclusive.
Yeah, it was as well. Thanks for doing that.
She's good. She's good at talking about it. We did
So, do you think then? Because I don't know if you heard what I was saying there, but one of the things that I brought up was that when I was 15, I was diagnosed with depression, and I was
yeah, I heard that. I
put on
heard that, yeah.
antidepressants like
Yeah.
that day. So it's 25 years stuck on antidepressants, and it may very well have just been the ADHD. I mean, considering that you were diagnosed so late in life, can you look back at any issues that you might have had that you might think, well, maybe it wasn't what I was told it was?
Well, I wasn't told anything. I just thought that life was kind of difficult and up and down. Because I do have the up and down thing as well, being bipolar type 2. But yeah, I just look back and say, and I look at disaster areas at trying to learn stuff at school and being delinquent at school. It was a horrible sort of environment anyway. But I look back at other times about things of, ways I've behaved, things I've done, things I wish I hadn't done, and you kind of, it's not like making excuses, but it's just thinking it was crazy. I was crazy.
Where did you grow up?
Edinburgh.
Edinburgh.
Where are you?
So,
Where did you grow up?
Glasgow, East End.
Where are you now?
Forfar, just north of Dundee.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So I mean, growing up at that time in Scotland, it wouldn't have been an easy ride for you.
No, nobody. I was back in the 70s. Nobody knew anything.
Mhm.
There was no cognizance or understanding of neurodivergence or LGBT. No, it was a horrible time of prejudice and lack of understanding, and everyone had to be a round in a round hole, and there was square pegs and there was triangular pegs and there was odd shaped pegs, and it was just ridiculous. The demand for conformity, which was people paid a terrible price, a lifelong price on mental health for what happened at school. Lots of bad things happened at my school, but all that didn't. I mean, I remember being in physics and chemistry classes, and I mean, history I liked, you see, so I could concentrate on it, and English as well, but to an extent sometimes. But I just remember like physics and maths. I'm saying, what the? Because you can only concentrate like for 20 seconds before you drift off. I said, what the fuck are you talking about? What on earth what's this about? What is it? And then you're thinking about something else. And so it's an absolute disaster area. I managed to scrape enough exams to get into uni. And then things changed a bit because I was able to, I did history, which is quite interesting. And then I got into music and stuff. And well, I had been that was always been a lifesaver, but got into drama and university and stuff like that.
So how did the creative side of things? How did the creative side of you come out then? If
Well, I'd always been creative.
Hmm.
I was good at making up stories and history and stuff like that, and also writing words and writing music and writing things and stuff like that. That I've always had a creative imagination, and so that has helped. And from an early age, I was playing guitar and writing songs with my friends and stuff like that. So that was an outlet, which I was reasonably it was okay at it. It was quite good at it. So so that helped. What about you? What was your? Did you have an outlet?
Well, yeah, music as well.
Yeah.
I play piano, and funnily enough, I was telling somebody about this the other day that again, looking back, it was plainly obvious. There was something neurodivergent going on up here because
Mm.
I had never played piano before in my life, and I sat. There's no word of a lie. I sat in the music department in school, sat in front of this piano, looked at it, and went, "I know how to play this."
Yeah.
And I sat and I played like just a daft wee kind of oompa ramp,
Mm. Mm.
like vamp thing, and then from there it was just, I went and just went daft with music. I did all the high school music. I went to university to study music. It's all, um, and it was purely because of that moment. I sat in front of a piano and was like, this makes sense.
Yeah. Yes, the same. I'm 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 a self-taught pianist, self-taught
Mhm.
musician, because we did this music test at school, and everyone in the school was tested about which is or all that with lots of tests,
Mhm.
and then and I came top, and it's quite a posh school. It was a posh school, and then I remember being taken out and said, my parents were said, this boy must have music lessons, and so the teacher was uh, came I don't know. I know I had a music lesson. Well, I had one music lesson, and I had one look at the dots, and I thought, oh no, can't do this.
Yeah.
Can't be doing with those dots. So I am like the Rolling Stones and the Beatles and David Bowie. I don't know anything about the dots. I just know about the chords and the stuff. I'm sure maybe you're the same.
I'm exactly the same.
Do you like the way we're likening ourselves to the Beatles and David Bowie and the
Yeah,
Rolling
of
Stones?
course. Aye, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, genuinely, 100%. I'm the same as you. Like, if you were to say to me, Chris, can you play X song? I would listen to it on the Alexa, and I'd
Mm.
probably be able to play it in 5 or 10 minutes. But if you
Yeah.
were to put the sheet music down in front of me, I'd be like, no, because by the time I've worked out what's going on in this line, the
Yeah.
music's already moved 3 lines down.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I can do chords. I like,
yeah,
I'm
chords
interested
as
in
well.
chords and all that stuff.
Chords are such a great way to bluff your way through anything, though.
It's not
Like
bluff. It's the best way through.
yeah,
Yeah.
but according to real musicians, chords you're blagging your way through when you're chording it.
Well, it was all right for Lennon and McCartney chording it, wasn't it?
Yes, very true, very true.
Yeah, they write some
Um,
quite good songs.
I'm glad you brought up music, right? Because my kids will kill me if I don't talk to you about this, and I'm kind of jumping about here, but I need to talk about the Masked Singer, right?
Yeah.
First of all, uh, I was adamant that you were Chris Moyles for a start. The whole time, I was like, "That is Chris Moyles."
You thought I was Chris Moyles.
Oh, I was adamant you were Chris Moyles the whole time. Honestly, it was the fact that it was, you were an egg. You're talking about broadcasting. Um, the Scottish thing. I was just trying to make clues go to Chris Moyles for some reason. By that point, but oh, my kids adored the Masked Singer, and actually, just when you're talking about that chord, when you were performing it at the end when you were unmasked,
Mm.
what was it that set you off? Because you got quite emotional.
It's um the song.
Mm-hmm.
I love the song. Um, we're after the same rainbows and my huckleberry friend, and there's such a lot of world to see. That's the line that gets me every time.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I love the song. That's why I chose it, actually. And there's Davina, who was kind of I was so near yet so far. I could see her through. You can hardly see anything through the
Mm-hmm.
costume. It's like looking through gauze, and you know, it's just these bring on stage, and it was like you had this long walk from the changing area. Nobody knows who you are. There's only about 6 people in the whole production who know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And then they say, all right, they call you Dippy. They don't call you Nicky, it was Dippy Egg. So it was, all right, Dippy, just move to the left, move your foot forward, and up, you got a ramp coming up, and then you got the ramp, and it's all dark inside. It's really claustrophobic. And it really triggered my wife, who has claustrophobia, because she could hardly watch it because she knew I was in that thing and what it was like in there, because I said, it's not very nice in there. And then you see this bright light, like a near-death experience, and then you're on the stage, and then you can't see anything there, and then they go, see that blue light in the distance, Dippy? Vaguely, yeah, just that's your light. That's where to look. And don't move too far that way or too far that way. So when I watched it on the television and I saw these people dancing around me, I hadn't a clue they were dancing around me on the night. I did 500 miles, and then the 4 eggs in the band were dressed as had red hair and beards and stuff like that, and tartan. And then the girl dancers were all dressed as Highland cows when I was doing 500 miles. And I watched it thinking, bloody hell, all that stuff was going on around me. It was the same for Moon River. So, I also cried because it was really intense. The whole thing was really intense.
Right.
And
it was because Davina's reaction when your mask came off as well.
amazing.
Never seen that. Well, I've never seen her react like that before.
Oh, amazing. Amazing.
Was that the night Lorraine was guest judge?
No.
No. So you had no idea Lorraine was there either?
No, I didn't. And also because it's recorded and then it goes out. Nobody has to know who's. I didn't know who anyone else was.
It's such a fascinating concept for a TV show that's just taken off. It's mad.
I know.
Did they come to you then? Did they just?
Yeah.
And what did you say? Did you have to think about it, or was it just a right away like, yeah, go on, I'll do it?
I did. I got the call and I thought, well, that'll be a laugh. And then I went through and said to my wife, I just had a call and it's top secret. The Masked Singer. She says, you're not doing it. You're not doing it. And then she said, how much? Okay, you're doing it. No, I'm just joking.
There we go.
It wasn't quite like that. No, I just said, yeah, I'd really like it. It'd be laugh. And she said, but I said, it's very low exposure, actually. It's not like Strictly Come Dancing, but it's all about you and your life and your backstory. It's nothing. There's no backstory because they're kind of trying to hide who you are, not examine who you are and put it out there and create a narrative, which they do on Strictly. They create a narrative. Oh, Krishnan, it's the first time he's found happiness away from the hard news. And it's what? You know, they sort of create a line for everyone, which is where people go with it because they're drunk on dopamine. He was brilliant. But so they're trying to disguise who you are. And there's the only time of any exposure is when you had the bloody thing off. Take it off. Take it off. But that's a big moment. When I realized that she didn't know, I think they got me on for that moment, obviously with Davina. But when in the dressing room beforehand, I said, if I go out tonight, does she know? And they said, no, she doesn't know. One of the bosses said she does. I said, how do you know she doesn't know? She says, we just know she doesn't know because we've got spies in the judge's room. And they talk about stuff. I said, she doesn't know. No, I haven't got a clue. And then people said, how could you not know? Where they sit to the side, the acoustics aren't very good. And she said to me that when I saw her recently, she said, if I'd been watching you on television, I'd have got it. But the side, you sometimes see them like cocking their ears and trying to hear. You can't hear very well.
Yeah, it was a brilliant series, and as I said, okay, I was slightly disappointed that you weren't Chris Moyles, but other than that,
I've been disappointed. I'm not Chris Moyles since 1990.
Come on, you're still working for the BBC here, isn't? So who's on top there? Talk to me about and this is ADHD related, but talk to me about Wheel of Fortune. Wheel of Fortune was that like kind of your big break, so to speak. I mean, I grew up watching Wheel of Fortune. I grew up watching you on Wheel of Fortune. So it's the first thing I ever seen you did.
Can I, on the music front, say, because I did a, can I just say, and
Yeah.
if you can leave this, it'd be brilliant. I just want to, because I'm quite fired up about it at the moment.
Go for it.
I wrote an album for Mark Morahan because I've written music professionally off and on since I was 20. So I wrote an album for Mark Morahan in 2009 on Lynn Records, which is a good jazz label, and it did, you know, it did okay. And then I wrote an album with Kate Robbins, brilliant comedian and actress and singer and writer. And you know, I've done lots of music for podcasts and stuff. And then I've just decided I've got loads of unreleased stuff and other stuff and podcast music and new stuff. I thought I'm going to put it out there. So I've started Nicky Campbell Music on Spotify and Apple Music. And I'm putting my stuff out on that. So I'm really enjoying that at the moment, so people can have a listen to things. But the Wheel of Fortune, I started that in 1988. I joined Radio 1 in 1987, so it was very shortly after that.
Oh,
It was because I'd done a show on Grampian television back in the day. There was the franchise for the north of Scotland. I'd done a pop quiz on there. I think when I joined Radio 1, because had been working on local radio in Aberdeen. Then I went to Capital Radio, and I can't remember the exact timings of it. I think it's just when I joined Radio 1.
what
And
was the
then
name of the station in Aberdeen you worked for?
Grampian. Oh, the radio station.
The radio.
North Sound.
Oh, was it North Sound? Right. Okay.
But it's all different now. It's all
Yeah.
just
No, it's still North Sound.
yeah, but
but
it's all centrally done.
Yeah, yeah.
That was a proper local radio station with sort
Mhm.
of, you know, community
Yeah.
stuff and outside broadcasts in Duffy Park and
I worked for Original 106 for a while
all right.
up in Aberdeen. I was the breakfast presenter on Wave 102 in Dundee as well. That was like my best job. But it was just because you'd mentioned
Who was
Aberdeen.
on? Who was on in the Aberdeen? Anyone who was on there? Was it 106?
Martin Ingram.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He wishes you actually, funnily enough, I did a Google and a Facebook search the other day, and he wishes you a happy birthday every year in a radio presenters group on Facebook.
Oh.
But yeah, Martin Ingram, he still is PC up there. Can't remember the rest of them up there because most of my time was at Wave in Dundee.
What was the music that they played there in Aberdeen on 106? What sort of music was it?
Mostly it's mostly 80s, 90s, 2000 pop.
All right.
Yeah.
Because a fellow I worked with called Damien McLeod, he was really good.
Mhm.
I'm not sure if he's still doing it or not.
That name doesn't sound familiar to me, but again, I'm not that deeply rooted in radio now.
No, I just really looked up to him.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, then I started doing the Wheel of Fortune. I
Mhm.
think they saw a tape of the pop quiz I'd done for Grampian TV, and they thought, well, we'll audition him for the Wheel of Fortune. And I did they got the rights to the American Wheel of Fortune, and I auditioned or did a pilot, and the other pilot was done by Eamon Holmes. And Eamon looks a little bit like Pat Sajak, who was the American host. So I think that was a vibe there. But I was lucky enough to get it, and it's yeah, I did it for 7 years or something like that, 7 or 8 series, and it was it was a laugh, yeah, a real laugh.
It looked it, yeah. Was it recorded in Scotland?
Yeah, it was recorded in Cowcaddens in Glasgow, the old studios, and we had the biggest prize in British television history.
Yeah, I genuinely I didn't know that.
£3,500
at the time.
Yeah,
at the time,
because there were rules. There was the Independent Television Commission, the ITC at the time, and there were rules as to how much you could give away, and it had to be all skill based. So that's why we had to ask general knowledge questions. Weird, but it was fun. It was fun. It was fun. Really good fun. And it was great working with Carol and Angela was the first one. It was great working with Jenny Powell, and Steve Hamilton did the voiceover. Wheel of Fortune, and he was a DJ I listened to on Radio 4 when I was growing up. So he's not with us anymore. That was a big thrill, working with Steve Hamilton. I used to I love meeting the contestants, and I just remember there's one guy. It was great seeing people's journey. One guy came up from Liverpool, and he was like being quite kind of homophobic about, because in that environment it's a lot of get gay people work in television. And he was being called, oh, well, I'm not having any bloody makeup, and look at all this, bunch of this and that, like that. And then as the day went on, he kind of softened. And then after the show, he and the wardrobe guy went off and had a whale of a time together on the town. So there was like there was a whole journey for him throughout the day.
Yeah.
I just find fantastic, from homophobic hairy ass guy who'd never been in that environment to full on, let's hit the town and go dancing till 4 a.m. and God knows what else. It's quite a beautiful thing to see.
Yeah. That it sounds it genuinely sounds it.
It was great. Yeah.
I need to know more. I need to go back to the music. I know I'm jumping all over the place here, but I do want to talk about the music because you'd mentioned that in terms of your ADHD, you do this hyper focus thing, and your music is your music your main kind of hyper focus when you go into that mode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else that? Yeah. It always has been. It just completely absorbs me when I'm writing and when I'm recording and doing stuff now. I mean, I'm doing stuff now, mixing stuff to put some of my podcast music to put on Nicky Campbell Music, the thing that I'm doing on Apple and Spotify and everywhere else. So see, I completely love it. I completely love it. I've got a lot of ukuleles and guitar and a lovely keyboard and a piano and a lovely setup here. So it's just a joy for me. I'm just happy. I sit down take the dog out in the morning, and then on Saturday morning, and then sit down with a coffee, and I'm just so happy doing different types of music. And if I'm writing for something, which I've sometimes have done, if I've been commissioned to do something, I absolutely love that. I suppose it's my paint. It's like some people paint, some people garden. That's what I do.
I genuinely didn't know that about you. Like, I always thought that you were like broadcaster through and through. That was your identity, so to speak. I genuinely didn't know that how passionate and how in demand you were for music.
Reasonably so, but lots of people don't know. They're surprised. It's funny how people pigeonhole and they think, well, you do that, so you can't do that. And but it's something I've always loved doing. And I like writing words as well, and articles and things like that. So, but I've got to be busy.
Yeah, it's the joys of the way our minds work in it.
I can't be not doing something.
That's exactly the same. You mentioned about a few minutes ago about your dog. You got a really special relationship with your dog, haven't you?
We lost him just about 3 or 4 weeks ago, Maxwell. He was 15 and a half, and he had a mouth melanoma, a malignant mouth melanoma. So we had to say goodbye. It was just horrendous.
Are you okay to talk about?
Talk
about him?
Yeah. It was traumatic. It was, we all went down, the 6 of us, and said goodbye, and we were all in the room. I miss him. I really, really miss him. But I've got 2 Westies as well, a mother who's very elderly and her daughter who's very cheeky. So I couldn't live without dogs. Animals for me have always been very, very important. That connection, I find it a very spiritual connection with animals. I see nature and animals, and my heart soars and sometimes breaks. I think they're just wonderful, and we know so little about them, and the way certainly other mammals think and communicate, and how self-aware they are. And I think that they're beautiful, and they're fascinating, and they're it's such a part of my inner world as well. For you,
Tell me about the if you can, when you had the incident at the train station, because he was involved in terms of helping bringing you out of that, was he not?
That's right. I had a breakdown and I collapsed, and went, and then I was in a terrible state. of the depths of despair. And it was him. He just came up and put his head on me, I remember. And it's kind of, there's an instinct, you know, they know things aren't right. They're incredibly, you know, they're not going to go and mastermind, but they're incredibly emotionally intuitive. And they know what's going on because they have to. It's an instinct. They have to know what's going on with the pack.
Even when they're sleeping, they're still very aware of what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Do
know,
you have a dog? Do you have a
I've got
dog?
two. I've got a lab and a Dalmatian.
All right, Dalmatian. What are they like? I mean, labs are fantastic. Maxwell was a lab.
Yeah.
What are Dalmatians like?
He's a pain in the backside, honestly.
Yeah.
But do you know, he's a lovely dog and he's very, very affectionate, but he is so stubborn. Like, so we'll have them out. Normally let them out the garden to play, and then when we need them back in, I've normally got a treat in my hand. However, Oreo, who's a Dalmatian, he will take a look at my hand and he'll gauge the quality of the treat that I have before he decides whether he's coming in or not.
Yeah.
You know, he's one of those dogs. Whereas Angus, the Labrador, you know, he's a big dafty, you know. But he's lying right next to me just now, and he knows that I'm talking about him. I can see his ears just went.
He heard his name. That's why.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
But because you did, was it not a podcast or something you did about your dog as well? Was it a TV show about the kind of relationship with animals? What was it you did? You put
I wrote
out
a
there?
book.
Oh, was it the book? Sorry.
I wrote a book. One of the family.
That's it. That's the one.
Yeah. Which was Sunday Times bestseller. It was a really, really, I mean, it goes into quite a lot of depth about adoption and identity and bipolar and stuff. But yeah, he's on the front cover. Yeah, because he was a massive part of that whole thing. And I guess he's my therapy dog. He was my therapy dog. But then he's gone, and it's such a hole, and I can't. Although I've got two dogs and I love them dearly, but nothing's quite the same. Really, nothing's quite the same.
Yeah.
And I know people say, well, start a new love story with another dog, and maybe we will. But he was my dog, you see, and we had a very special bond. So, but that's, 15 and a half. Great. I hate the phrase "great innings" because I don't like cricket, but he had a good run. He really did. He loved to run, and he had 15 and a half is bloody good for a Labrador. And when he went, it was an act of kindness because it was time. It was time.
Yeah, I agree. The children have just come in, and you're about to hear some barking.
That's fine.
Hi, you okay? Yeah.
How old are the children?
There we go. I have a 6-year-old, an 11-year-old, and a 13-year-old. Hey, Angus, that's enough. In a second. Summer, do you want to come and say hello to Nicky? 10. Sorry, 10. Summer, bring her in.
Hi.
He said hi. Give my headphones.
How you doing?
Recognize him, yeah? Yeah. She definitely wants to say hello to you because of the whole dippy egg thing.
I haven't got my dippy egg costume.
Did you get to keep it?
No.
No.
Tina, my wife, we wanted to keep the egg box shoes, but they wouldn't even. We couldn't keep anything.
No. You get any souvenirs? Have you not got the hoodie that says "Don't talk to me"?
Yeah, I've got that. How do you know about
that? Oh, I know Jason Manford. I say I know him quite well. I've met him a few times, but he was wearing his one time that we met. I think the scissors are over there.
I've got this over here as well. Look, I've got this visor. You just have to put this on. So this is the balaclava here. that you have to put on there, and then the visor on top of it. Like
Mm-hmm.
that.
And you see through that?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the visor he had to wear when he was on the Masked
Backstage.
Singer. Backstage, so nobody would know who he was. That
Another
was the mask.
balaclava as well. Like
Yeah.
that.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's cool, isn't it? Right, off you go. Sorry, yes, you can
I
have it.
should go on the bus like that.
Yeah, oh, aye.
Go on the tube like
Oh,
that on the train.
well, that's what I was going to say. Do you talk about your private prescriptions and diagnosis, and you kid on you get on the bus, eh?
I do get on a bus.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Yeah. I suppose
Mhm.
London public transport's the easiest way to get around London, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, and I just got my. I tell you what's amazing. I got my 60. You get free travel at 60. I've got a card. 60 years old. I thought, how's this a viable economic model? Because
Mhm.
people are still economically active. But anyway, everywhere, every time I go through the turnstile, I feel good. I feel like it's it's the Scottish thing.
Yeah,
I'm,
definitely.
I'm saving £5 every time. Pachum, pachum. It's a great feeling.
It's
Yeah.
a sense of and I know obviously you've worked hard to get to where you are and that, but I hear it in the way you word certain things. Is there a sense of like eh, guilt and imposter syndrome in terms of how successful that you are? Because you've mentioned it. You've mentioned like how lucky you are, and like you mentioned about guilty, but also your daughter mentioned it as well. Just when I was talking to her, it seems to
Well,
be.
I never let them forget the fact that they're very fortunate to
Mhm.
be in a situation that we can get it fixed and we can go and get the drugs. But what I work very hard at doing is to get the message out there that everyone should be in that
Yeah.
situation. And people who are what we are, Chris, the with ADHD, who are working in a job that is just driving them crazy, that is just not right for it, that is repetitive and is boring. They're going through turmoil, and obviously you can be creative, you can write your amazing books, and you can do what you do, and I can be creative, and I've got an outlet, but there's lots of people who just aren't as lucky,
Yeah.
and I just think, God, what life must be like for them.
No, I agree. Um, you are, is it, what's the word I'm trying to think of?
Wanker.
ADHD UK. Yes. Um, are you, the ADHD UK. Are you a spokesperson for them or something? Because you're all over their website.
Am I?
Yeah.
I can't remember. I don't think so.
Or a, what's the word? Not a sponsor, but I can't think of the
Ambassador
word.
or something.
Yeah,
Am I?
ambassador. Yeah.
Am I? I forget things all the time. I had a friend called
Wonder
Alan
why
who's
that is.
I had a friend. Let me see if it's on news here. I had a friend called Alan who died. Um, he didn't make 50. He was my
Hmm.
best friend, and he was my memory. He said, "Do you remember that, Nick, at university? That happened and that happened. Do you remember that?" I said, "No, um, no, got nothing from them.
Mm.
Do I think so? Well, hang
I think
on. No.
it may just be celebrities with ADHD that
Yeah,
on that
probably.
page. Yeah.
Yeah. Who else is who? Yeah. What are you like? Can you watch a film?
I sometimes I
Yeah,
really
yeah.
need to. I, I struggle to watch new films, but if there's a film that I've seen before and I know that I enjoyed it, then I can go back into that.
Yes.
Um, but most of the time, my phone is sitting quite near me, and I find myself just drifting, onto my phone
Scrolling,
at some point. Yeah,
scrolling's been just for people who are ADHD. Scrolling is a gift,
yeah,
isn't it?
yeah. It really. To be honest with you, it was the scrolling that actually made me realize that I had ADHD. On TikTok.
Yeah.
I was scrolling through it, and all of a sudden, all these ADHDers are jumping on saying, if you do this, you probably have ADHD. If you do this, you probably have ADHD. Like, well, okay, I think I've got ADHD,
Mm.
and it was all through scrolling.
And do you read books?
Um, I try very hard to read books.
Yeah.
Your daughter that was saying, at school, she'd read a book and then she would think, "What did I just read? That
Mm.
was just words." And I remember saying to my teacher exactly that. Like, I've read this book cover to cover. I have no idea what happened in it. It was just words. And she was like, "Oh, don't be daft, Chris. Don't be so lazy," or whatever it was. But so when I read, I need to be in the mood to read. And if I go through like a whole page and then realize that I've not actually taken in anything that's on that page, it's time to take a break and go.
See,
Um,
I've just got an incredibly high bar for books.
mhm.
So if there's a book that I absolutely love, if I'm really, really interested in it, I can sit down and read the whole thing in a one-er.
Oh.
But anything just that's slightly less interesting, I have to read the first page twice. I can't take it in, and then I've got this
Mhm.
thing. I go into the middle to see if it's interesting. I won't start it. And if it looks in the middle interesting, then I might go back to the start.
Mhm.
But I can't do fiction.
What? How come?
I don't know. I just can't. I can't invest in fiction.
Is it be is it because I don't know. See, I'm just thinking now because non-fiction. I'm the same. I love autobiographies.
Mm,
True crime, history, like you, like in terms of history, it's all things that have happened. It's something that,
yes.
and that's what I kind of grab onto as well. I wonder if that's the same.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is things that have happened. Or absolutely right. I just can't. I don't know. I just can't. Somebody's my book editor said. I said, Gillian, I said to her, I just can't, because she does books all the time and deals in books and yeah, helps people with books. Um, and she sometimes ghostwrites for other people
Hmm.
and stuff. Um, for some pretty major people, and she helped me order my thoughts and get this in my book. And she said, "Oh," I said, "Don't read fiction." And she said, "Oh, listen, fiction is incredible. It takes you to a place. That fiction has truth in it." And so I said, "Well, give me one. Give me one that I can give it a go." She said, "Give me a brilliant one." She said, "Okay." So she brought this. She said, "This is incredible." I can't even remember it, but she said, "This is incredible." So I said, "Right, right." So I sat down and I read the first 10 pages, but because I drifted off at certain paragraphs, all of a sudden I thought, "Oh, this person's a woman." I thought it was a man. So the first 10
Hmm.
pages I've been thinking it was a man because I'd at some vital point I'd drifted off,
Hmm.
and then I didn't have any desire to go any further.
No.
It didn't seem to be, it seemed to be like a waste of time.
Yeah, that's quite unique. I think is the only way I can describe it because I would always think, especially with our kind of the way our brains work, is you're going away into that fantasy land would be something that you could, really grab onto.
Yeah,
I don't know.
no. I, the bit that I've enjoyed, um, I enjoyed Great Expectations,
Okay.
bit of Charlie Dickens. I did
All
enjoy
right.
that
Yeah, I know what you are now.
when I was when I was in hospital. I was a couple of days in the hospital many years ago, and I grabbed it off the shelf and read it, and I found that quite engaging. He's a bloody good writer, and also he took you into a Victorian England. So it was
Could it have
kind of
been your
like history.
environment?
It's
Could it,
kind of
could,
like, yeah.
yeah.
Oh God, I'm 5%. I've got another 10 minutes. I need to find the plug. Hang on.
Right.
Ah, here it is.
No, got it.
I better go in a wee minute.
Yeah, no, I know. I've kind of kept you going for
No, it's
um,
enjoyable.
there's one incident that I really want to ask you about, because when I was looking through some articles and things, one that came up um really stood out to me, and I'm kind of putting two and two together here, and I want to see if you think the same. Um, there was a Daily Record article back in 2021 talking about when Charlie Brooker said something about you,
Yeah.
and you spent you spent days in bed because he'd said this specific thing about you back in 2004. Now, obviously, not knowing that you had ADHD or anything back then.
Or
um
depression. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, could it have
Even,
been like, because one major factor of ADHD is RSD, or rejection sensitivity dysphoria. And
yeah.
if somebody's saying something really like negative about you,
Mm.
you're going to take that really, really personally. And I'm wondering if that incident and how you took what he'd said about you was, potentially something to do with that.
Could have been, but it was just very cruel.
Yeah. Like, what happened?
I don't know. Just kind of took against me on the telly,
Yeah.
and then did this whole diatribe on which somebody told me about, and then I went home and watched it, and it was like a diatribe of really real abuse.
Well, why though? Do you know each other? Are
No,
you like, no?
no, no,
Hmm.
no. Sometimes you take against people, you know.
Yeah.
There's some people on television I think, oh, I'm not a fan, but I wouldn't do that.
No, no. Yeah, it just made me think, because I
Mm.
seen it and it came up, and I
Can't say
thought,
anything nice, don't say anything at all,
yeah.
really. You know.
How do you cope nowadays with that sort of thing? Because I spotted on Twitter the other
Yeah,
day,
yeah.
somebody had said, oh, we're not interested, something that you had said. And you called them out on it right away, and you're like, well, actually, I think, people are interested. But
Mm.
being a notable figure in the social media world, how do you cope with that when there is that negativity out there?
Well, I think there's ways of calling it out and to be reasonable, but I would always try and do it with courtesy.
Hmm.
Mm. I think that's the main thing.
I mean,
Um,
internally, like, how do you cope with that? Because are you kind of fine? Are you that comfortable within yourself, happily enough now that if somebody says something online, like, that's not terribly nice about you, just does it brush off you, or does it lay with you for a while? Like, what's the?
well, it does. It's okay. I do get annoyed when I get misquoted because there are so
Hmm.
many sensitive issues at the moment in the world, and people jump on from all sides, jump on things and take quotes when I've said things like some people argue that da da da, and I'm always very careful with how I phrase things. And then you might have sort of Nicky Campbell said that this is the case, and I did not. And you can't mess around with that stuff, what with social media. And I said, oh, well, I didn't say that. Oh, but you, I said, no, I did not say that. Please delete. because then you get pylons from people. But then whatever side it is, where that side of that thing, or that side of that thing, or that side of that thing, and that side of that thing, you get, recently I've had I've had Nicky Campbell as a Jew hater. I've had Nicky Campbell likes killing Palestinian children. I've had, every blood, and I'm really, really careful about, because I've done this phrasing that said, well, there's these arguments here, and I put all the arguments and stuff like that. And so that infuriates me when people misquote you, because it's irresponsible. And the very people do it who would be the first people to criticize papers like the Daily Mail for doing it and for distorting, and the very people would have a go at the mainstream media for saying, for distorting things and for misquoting things. Oh, that newspaper, and they do it themselves. Yeah,
it's mad, isn't it? It's just when it's horrible. It's horrible. I try and I only use social media to try and get in contact, like with people like you. You know, or try and build certain things. I'll go to social media, and that's where my hyper focus goes. If I'm wanting like high profile guests on the podcast, and I will sit for hours on social media just looking to try and find them, and and I'm very grateful that you agreed to do it as well.
Well, the other thing is that when Top of the Pops is on a Friday night, and I might be watching and follow the hashtag and stuff like that, it's quite fun. The Top of the Pops I used to do, and I can't remember any of them.
So you did. So
and
you
they show
did
on
Top of the
they
Pops.
show on Friday night on BBC Four, and then you get a tweet which says, "Nicky Campbell, you were a twat then, and you're a twat now," and I think, "Oh, thanks for getting in touch."
Yeah.
What's the point of saying that? People love having a go. Most people are incredibly nice. That's the thing. Most people are incredible. And wherever you go, people want to talk about stuff. People want to talk about long lost family and things like that. And I love that. I love that warmth you get from people. And I always try and stop and chat. And it's important, and it's good. I love it.
Is
And
that how you and
when one
Davina got
person
close?
yeah, when a person says on the tube, I was on the tube the other day, and somebody said, "Oh, it's just opposite. I hope you don't mind me saying, but that thing you said this morning was so true." And and I love that's great. And then the Mars Singer, people stopping me to talk about Dippy Egg, people stopping to talk about long lost family and telling me their stories. I love that. 99.999% of people are incredible, but social media just sometimes has people who just want to, they must spend that time. You spend your time looking for interesting people to talk to, interesting people, and also me. But there are other people seem to be looking for people to abuse. But
it is what it is, though, isn't
it is what it is.
We can't police them, and it's just you kind of just need to what I do, and I don't get it that often. I'm just a wee podcaster from Forfar, but sometimes it happens, and I just tend just to try and block and move on. But sometimes it sits.
Does it get to you?
Yeah, sometimes it just sits, and it'll, it will get to me. It was about 10 years ago. I was something I can't remember specifically what happened, but something had happened, and a lot of really horrible things were written about me online, and I couldn't stop reading them. There was a specific message board dedicated to people talking about me, and I would sit obsessively refreshing that page, waiting for the next person to post on it. And that was a horrible time. But now I still get that wee feeling in my tummy, like the same feeling I got back then. But I now know, there's these people who have posted have forgotten about me 20 seconds after they've posted. Why should I spend, 100 times that amount of time on it when they don't?
Exactly.
That's it. Right, before I wrap up, I need to ask you about a tweet that came up. It was about a week ago or something about you being naked on top of the Pops. What's that?
But this was back in 94, 5, 6. It was on the other night.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember Rick Blacksall, the producer, saying there's been a lot of controversy about the George Michael video or something, that it was naked. I can't remember, nakedness in it or something. And
Mm-hmm.
so let's be even more controversial. Would you introduce it naked? So how's that going to work? He said, well, we'll clear the studio and we'll have a guitar swirling out of you and stuff like that. I said, yeah, all right. So so I am the only person ever to have introduced a song on Top of the Pops naked.
Yeah, and on that note, that's the perfect way to